Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel, an editorial discussion for 15th May 2022. My name is Harsh Singh, and in this video we shall discuss an editorial from last week's Indian Express which is titled Indigo Boy My Child. This issue of autism was very much popular in the whole country because of the small boy who was not made to travel, and through this discussion we will understand what are the kind of multiple disabilities, social disabilities that people go through when they have some god gifted disabilities, and how government should improve its service delivery in this regard. If you like this initiative, share some love through like, shares and subscribes. Let's discuss. The editorial begins by talking about the case of that young boy, 13-year-old boy, who was not made to travel by the Indigo flight from Ranchi to Delhi just because the child faced autism disabilities. Although the co-passengers agreed and they said there was no risk posed to them, yet the DGCA rules, Directorate General of Civil Aviation rules, they clearly state that one must be able to handle the unruly passengers and remove them from the flight. So this child, according to the authorities, Indigo authorities, this child was in a state of panic and therefore could create a safety hazard on the flight, on board, and therefore they must be removed from the flight. So suspicious behavior, disturbing co-passengers, these are the grounds on which many of the people are not made to travel, and most of these people are disabled or differently abled, what we call as Divyangjan. They are actually treated as a social disability. Now there are innumerable cases of such happenings. Jija Ghosh, one social activist here on the right, they go through a condition called as cerebral palsy. Now in this condition the locomotor disabilities are there, and she was drooling a bit in the flight and she was removed from inside the flight. She was going to attend a conference on social disability, and she was removed from the flight itself. And post this, there were orders by the government and the court also on this. So the only thing that was mentioned by the pilot in this case was that she possessed a potential threat because of her jerky movements. Now this is a very vague term under which a person should be removed from a flight. Similarly, another case, Sudha Chandran, a popular case just a couple of years back, she has a prosthetic limb. She suffered some injury and she still dances. She dances for the country. She goes abroad. And whenever she goes to an airport, the security check asks her to remove the complete prosthetic limb to detect in case she is carrying a bomb or not. This is where she requested, why not enable explosive tracer detectors? Through these detectors, one need not remove this limb. Imagine if she is wearing a sari, she has to remove this every time she goes to an airport. So she requested the prime minister, and after that, there were rules that were incorporated in favor of the definitely able people. Imagine the kind of turmoil and social disabilities that people go through just because they are differently able. Now, this is not just at the authorities. Look at all the other places, parks, movie theater, malls. The person who has written this article is themselves a parent of an autistic child. So they say, socially people come and ask, ये ऐसा पहले से था क्या? Was the child like this always? ये बीमारी West में होती है. This is a issue that is prominent in West, not in our nation. In fact, the schools have refused such kind of children, autistic children, saying there is no place for children like him, just because the teachers are not trained enough to handle such difficult situations, that your child is too noisy interactions. So it is not just a disability for the child, this is also a disability for their social surrounding, for their parents, for their guardians. They are not able to interact with the normal world in the normal way. In fact, the child who was not able to travel right at 13 years of age, few years back, their parents printed flyers. They printed posters and distributed it to the people in the flight to make them aware about what is autism. So let us quickly understand what is this issue of autism and how deadly or dramatically issue creating is that for other people. So very quickly, let me share what is autism. See, this is a spectrum disorder. This is not a specific disorder कि बाल कम हो जाएंगे, there'll be hair loss, or the person will not be able to talk properly. This is a spectrum disorder. Wide ranges of things happen in this disorder. So it can largely restrict social interactions, communication skills of the person. They could have repetitive or restricted behavior. This is the preference of the people going through this issue. So severe sensory difficulties, for example, a sensory overload can happen when there is too much of noise, too much of light, too much of crowd, anything which is out of their routine. This can cause some sensory overload, and they can give some erratic responses, but not that they will start harming somebody, but they might create some noise. They might depict some certain kind of behavior. So for example, over and under sensitivities to sound, as I mentioned, light, touch, taste, smell, pain, and other stimuli. They will have repeated bodily movements, would like to rotate their hands in a particular way all the time, or to play with a certain article all the time, spinning objects, ritualistic behavior, narrow or extreme interest in specific topics. So they might have very, very sharp skills as well, narrow and specific interest. And if that interesting thing is not given to them, then they will not like whatever is happening. They will have resistance to change or want to have a similar kind of routine. So when they are made to travel in a flight, they might feel a little jittery, out of place, and might have some responses which are not acceptable socially. Right? This is what it is. So it is found in the spoken languages or non-verbal also. They might keep staring at a particular person or might not look into eye as well. The tone of voice will be different with others. So I hope you understand that socially this is not acceptable. Now, this is because they have erratic sleeping schedule. That's why. Because they wake up at nights, because the brain has not been made to function like that. And by the way, this is not something that has come up in after they grow up. This is a genetic disorder and it cannot be cured as well, right? And usually it comes with the co-occurring conditions. For example, they might have epilepsy fits, depression, anxiety, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. They will be having attention deficit and they will keep on looking at other places. Wo chanchal, what is called as chanchal in Hindi, right? And they are trained also, training, for example, how to how to cut fruits, how to chop fruits, peeling vegetables. So this is how the child or people learn to understand what is focus about. See, in India, we'll understand about the condition in India. In India, we have no understanding about how many people are autistic, but WHO has made an estimation that every one person in out of 100 children is autistic in nature, and some form of autism does exist, right? So this is a condition, not a disease. See, disease is the pathological response to a change in bodily functions, interior function, pathological response, right? But in condition, the the internal physiological conditions of the body are not operating properly. So this is a condition, and so this is called as a genetic disorder, and it cannot be cured. What we understand that disease can be cured, this cannot be cured. This is, and see, the most important about quality about this disease is this condition is that this is invisible disability. From exterior, one might feel that the person is not at all disabled, but they are. So there is a misinterpreted behavior amongst other people, thinking that this person should be behaving what is called as normal. What is normal? There is no normal. What, they should be behaving normally, but then it is not so. This was the case few years back, 2016, in Delhi Metro. A person, a police officer of Delhi Police, they were in a condition, and they even fell to the ground, and they were not conscious. It seemed there was social media post about it, videos about it, saying this is a disgrace to Delhi Police. The person is drunkard, and they should even resign from the service. This is dismissive. But then it was later found that the person was actually going through a medical condition, and it was a stroke to them that had given that person gentleman paralysis. We don't understand socially what is happening to that person internally. This is less of awareness. So for that same reason, April, the complete month of April, is utilized for celebrating autism awareness. The whole month, United Nations says, and April 2 is Autism Awareness Day. I did not cover this in the current affairs then, but these kind of issues happen, and then we must understand what is autism about, right? So autism can be cured is a myth. It cannot be cured. Autistic people have emotions. People think they don't have emotions. They have emotions, but they have difficulty in expressing them. Imagine this state of affairs. And one out of 100% does go through this kind of disorder, right? Autistic people find it difficult to interpret other person's emotions and body language expressions. So they will speak to only specific people who they feel very secure with, parents, children, etc. Right? Are there facilities available for them? Imagine this is Delhi airport itself during some times where when there is a lot of rush. So or can autistic people remain in these conditions? No. So this is where not only autistic but other kind of disabilities also, cerebral palsy being one, people going through schizophrenia, people going through epilepsy, people going through various other conditions, all of them need to be managed and handled with care. So for people who have disability issues, cannot move, wheelchairs are there free of cost for them to be utilized. But then alas, sometimes people aren't aware and money is charged in this case. Similarly, every time we book tickets, there is something called as DPNA, disabled passengers needing assistance. DPNA, please remember this, disabled passengers needing assistance. There's a column while we book our ticket. This can be filled by saying we need DPNA, disabled passengers needing assistance, intellectual or developmental disability, whichever disability, or special service request. And the airline, one needs to contact airline to let them know within 48 hours of travel what is the kind of assistance that is required, right? So the wheelchair is one of the assistance, right? Now these kind of small kind of assistance can make bigger, bring a big change to the travel of the particular kind of passenger. For example, making them board first the flight, not sitting next to babies who can cry, serving them the meals a little before other people, right? Checking on these passengers in a couple of hours, sitting in the front of the plane so that they can be deboard very easily, priority checking. All these are facilitating the people who are differently able. No, if God has given them some different abilities, can humans also can help them? Yes, absolutely. But then see, one rider is that it is not mandatory for the airlines to provide them all these facilities, but then airlines will come up and say this very clearly. There are some airlines, for example Air India, it clearly says that if you have a disabled person traveling with you, you will have to ensure that there is a suitable attendant also. We will not be having servicing through our flight attendants all the time, right? So can lounges be created? This is happening in developed world. I'm giving you the best example so that they can be emulated when question comes in India as well. So lounges for those people who are a little neurodivergent. For example, dimmable lights. They should be given dimmable lights in these kind of airport lounges. Bubble towers. If you've seen those bubble towers at the airport, people get to travel and they can go up by the lift and they can feel what it feels like to be on the top. So they will not feel scared. Gentle rockers, textures on the wall should be a little friendlier, right? Simulating airplane cabins, all this can only help them, right? And most importantly, active listening and clear communication. See, if one does clear communication with the passengers, they will come to know if the person is going through a condition or not. Their parents will be able to talk. But then what we are usually is not active and not proactive, we are reactive in nature. We have already ready-made responses for each situation. See, the way out for this is many things that have been passed by the government of India, many Supreme Court judgments giving these kind of the disabled friendly judgment. In fact, the Constitution itself promotes the values of inclusion, tolerance, empathy, and respect for diversity. Is it not so? All the people receive some kind of aid in some or the other form, and so should the disabled people be, right? Now, India, the case in India is that India never took a data check on the people who are autistic in nature. In 2011 census, there was no provision, separate provision in which autism could have been rated as a different kind of disorder and number of people gauged. So after that, government started unique disability ID project. So people could be recorded in this, but only few thousands covered here, only a few handful numbers in every state. Some states have zero number, but this is far from reality because many such people go to private clinics and other places to receive some kind of therapy, right? So there is no curriculum, no progression plan, no transition roadmaps for a child to become a teenager or to become an adult or help their parents. This plan does not exist in our country. Whereas imagine WHO says 1 out of 100 people go through this disorder in the whole world. Yeah. So developmental milestones mapping is a gap area, and this causes delay in autism diagnosis because we have not mapped what kind of person my issue is this. We are not even able to diagnose this issue. So this is where AIMS has come up with an app called as ped neuro AIMS diagnostic. What does it do? It has questionnaire for family people, for the person going through this condition to respond to, and through this one can self diagnose what are the issues. So this is like a questionnaire. Good, very good attempt, right? So if this cannot be cured, what is the solution then? One, no data is there. Then developmental milestones are not captured. Third, occupational therapy is the solution. That means one needs to discuss this socially with parents, with the people who are the nearby closer ones. Social skills training has to be given, and everybody needs to be made aware. What is autism about? What is cerebral palsy about? What is epilepsy about? So that they may be able to become aware and support other people. So diagnosis, that is the first, data, having data and mapping the people, awareness for everybody, and catering to these special needs. These are the three things. Dan, do Dan, and then nobody will feel differently abled or disabled, right? So if we are keeping everybody in silos, that means in separate separate different circles and not integrating them, this is self defeating. We have to make everybody aware, and more so the passengers and security personnel, because security personnel are the one, if they are aware, they will let clear of that person. The person is not harmful, right? The person is only different from the others, right? So just like the wheelchair passenger needs a wing beneath their wings, and their parents do need it, do we all not? We all need wind beneath our wings, right? And so do these people. So we should not treat them differently, right? And special tips for the parents: they should not feel socially awkward. They should not start scolding the child in case they are depicting certain kind of social behavior, if they are if they have some disorders. In fact, the idea should be that they should become more sensitive. They should not give in to any social pressure, and they should also not indulge in any fights with other people. This will only make the situation worse for the child, right? So this is a special kind of care, and such people can yield to a lot of beautiful changes in the world, right? A quick question to you all: mention 5 issues related to travel uh, of persons with disabilities. A very simple question, but then try to cover all the various kind of disabilities: mental and physical, emotional disabilities, and what kind of hassles that they go through. If you've got a question, please put it down in the comment section, and if you like this initiative, share some love through likes, comments, and subscribes. Thanks for watching.